On today's episode of Gathering the Kings.
I think we're all on a different journey. And I think the worst, especially when people are starting out in any business or even in life, the worst they can do is to compare themselves to others.
You are listening to Gathering the Kings with Chaz Wolfe, featuring fellow 7, 8, and even 9-figure business owners who have real battle scars from business and life, but have prevailed as the king that they are designed to be. We welcome high-performing entrepreneurs to the stage in order to reveal the real of the real on what it takes to build a successful business today. We dissect the good and bad decisions they've made along the way that give a true and accurate picture of the journey of success and how you too can get there. Through this dialogue, you will learn the value of growing your network and surrounding yourself with power players and kings like today's guest. Grab your pen and notebook because we're about to dive in. What's up, everybody? Chaz Wolfe, Gathering the Kings podcast. Today I've got Roman Tomkiv here on the king stage. My brother, how are you?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. And especially since we're going to be talking, your business is near and dear to my heart, the short-term rental space. And so we're definitely going to be able to get into it. Tell us what kind of business that you have, though.
So I like to call it, it's a hospitality. Right. And I think we're in that hospitality providing services to vacation rental people. So basically, I call myself in the hospitality vacation rental management space. So I'm actually located in Denver, but my primary company just is at Ridge. So folks that are familiar, it's in the Park County, like Fairplay, almost South Park, if they're familiar with South Park, that's kind of my hobby is.
I love it. I love it. Not only a great area, beautiful, but beautiful and perfect for this industry for sure. I'm sure there's lots of people that know and love short-term rentals, but don't want to manage it. And so you get to come in and save the day for them.
Exactly right. Well, my pitch when we get new owners, we call them partner owners, not clients. So whenever they buy a new property, we tell them, well, congratulations, you just bought yourself a job. So we're here to help you take that, job out of your hands and we'll do the management for you.
Yeah, I love that. And you're 100% right. Real estate can be a great resource for wealth building, but every piece of property that you purchase, depending upon on the type of property, needs work. It needs management. It needs attention. And you guys provide that opportunity for it to be hands off so that way the owner can actually have mailbox money, right?
Yeah, it's again, passive. I think it doesn't really apply to this business model. Right? When they're with it's passive income, like that's probably the furthest away in the real estate space that you can get.
Right.
As far as the passive. So yeah, for sure. We love what we do. And like I said, it's hospitality needs real estate investing.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. Well, let's, before we dive into the actual story, how you started, all that fun stuff, I want to know at this level, obviously at a certain level of success that you have, why are you still pushing? Like what's got you driving at this level?
Well, I'm kind of maybe step back a little bit. I'm a huge personal development guy. I'm a big Tony Robbins guy. And I like to call my second birthday happened back in 2017, July 22nd, when I did the UPW. And for the folks that are familiar, it's Unleash the Power Within. I was a corporate guy, worked Wall Street. I was like, well, I got there. There's something wrong. This is not what I'd signed up for, right? Like just kind of pushing, 70, 80 hours work weeks. And I think the reason I'm still at it, because first of all, I could have found my niche and find my calling. I love hospitality. I love provide, 5-star service for folks. I still read all the reviews. We got all the properties. So I get a kick out of that. And then think the second one more, I hate to, when I hit 60 or 70, look back and look, oh, snap, I should have done that. Why didn't I push it? So I think that's the biggest driver is like living my life to the full potential. Like, why not? Right? Like, run a marathon. Why not run a marathon? So kind of have that mindset from versus why you do this versus why not.
I love that perspective of why not. I had 4, I'm 20, 28, 27, I think, something like that. I have 4 Edible Arrangements franchises. I'm in the process of building number 5 and number 6. They were brand new. And I got this email from another owner in Florida. I'm in the Midwest selling their location. And I'm like
on it, replied, interested. Let me see the numbers, right? And I get people asking me like, well, first off, you have 4 other stores in the Midwest. You're opening up 5 and 6. Why are you trying to buy another one? And on top of that, states and states away. Why Florida? And my response was, why not? And so I totally respect and I align with that idea of why not. I think that the potential of what we have ahead of us is what drives a lot of us out there. For you, was that always like that? Like, have you, even back in corporate America, were you really like that? Just like the veil was over your eyes, or was that since 2017 you've really just been exposed to that and now you've been running after it?
I think there were stages, right? And I think going back to even like when I was a small kid, I used to play tennis. Like, again, kind of disclosure, I was born in Ukraine. I came to this country back in 2000. So, I'm 22 plus years in this country. I wanted to be a tennis player. Like, I remember always like, I wanted to do bigger, better things. There's always something, not the thing that not being satisfied. Like, even I'm doing something, I'm like, well, I got to do better, or I can do something else. Again, not confusing with that shiny objects in your life. Sometimes a lot of it, especially now with social media, all these, get rich quick stuff. You can do this, automate that, and think that, always, like, to your point, why not? Especially if you have these opportunities coming your way, there's got to be a reason why you have these opportunities. Because one, either you're, you have your energy attracting all that good, positive stuff, or just, it's life. It's all experience. I'm a big believer in there's no good or bad. It's just experience, right? It's like whatever you make of it. So to kind of know it's a long answer, but how I ended up, why I'm pushing, I'm just, brother, kudos to you, man. You're only 20 or 28, 29. I mean, I wish I was in your shoes back with all the technology and all the opportunities out there. So
I appreciate that. Yeah. To be clear, that was a couple years ago. I'm 35 now, but still I received that and thank you. I think that there's a lot of, entrepreneurs, maybe even listening here today that, some are on the newer end or the younger end. And there's some, I've talked to several of our listeners, even guests that are 40 plus. And like, first off, you have to have this mindset of, if there's more, like if we're talking about true potential, right? It doesn't really matter when you recognize that there's more potential. If even though I've accomplished, hundreds of millions, or I become a billionaire and I'm 35, if there's still potential, then it's my recognition or an acknowledgement of that to be able to go after it. Just the same, whether it's the age or the however much we've accomplished, if you acknowledge that there's still potential to go for it, then it's up to us to then go for it. So to your point, I would say thank you, but your acknowledgement at your stage, your growth, that there's still more is the same of me at 25 or the listener right now who's 55. It doesn't really matter. If you acknowledge that there's potential still in front of you, you got to go for it. Why not? Right?
Yeah. And I think we're all on a different journey. And I think that the worst, especially when people starting out in any business or even in life, the worst they can do is to compare themselves to others. Right?
That's right.
So, for example, they can look at you and me like, oh my God, this, guys are successful. Like, what am I doing wrong? Right? No, you're just in a different phase of your life and you're a different journey.
Right.
So you'll get there. Everyone, we have our own, I know as a system and as a society, you always measure everything in dollars, right? Like, how many cars do you have? But like, it's more or less irrelevant. It's all about what you think of it. Like, what do you think about your success and how much you can push? And so,
yeah, because your potential looks different than mine and mine different than yours and ours different than the listener. So you're 100% right. Tell me, okay, so you obviously just dropped that, you were born in Ukraine. Did you grow up in an entrepreneurial family? Why did you come to America? Like, help us understand how you got to become an entrepreneur.
Of course, yes. So I think for those folks probably either not young enough to remember there was a so-called country USSR, right? That there was a huge, Cold War. I still, I was born there. I was 7 years old when the whole system collapsed, and I saw my parents through there was nothing in the stores. I remember with my grandma at 3:00 in the morning, we were standing in line. It was in the middle of winter to get some butter and sugar, because you can only get a certain amount per head. So that's why I had to line up at 3:00 in the morning to wait to get 200 or 300 grams of butter and sugar. So I've seen like the whole kind of divorce it can be. And my both parents were engineers educated, but they had other jobs and wanted to start, hustling. So we were driving to Poland, which was, obviously the neighboring country, buying stuff at the flea market, bringing back, selling. So I saw them hustling. And I remember was 12 or 13, I started selling like lemonade and like soda. Like, I was kind of start seeing, the cash changing and like kind of
Interesting.
I think that was a start for me, even though I had that vision, Wall Street finance, that's kind of what America represented for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've definitely seen that freedom, number one, right? Even though you probably at the beginning not making as much money as, six-figure good corporate jobs, but you can't substitute that with freedom, right? Freedom of choice. You can get up in the morning, get your own schedule. So I think I really had that kind of, I would say, vaccination for entrepreneurship and freedom back when I was a kid and a teenager.
Yeah. I mean, what an incredible moment in time memory that you can pull from. I mean, these are things that, as an American that I've seen in a movie or that I've read about, but that aren't real to us. And so that's extremely interesting to me. It makes me think of several. I mean, I'm a history guy. I love, even World War I and World War II time frame and like all that. Like it wasn't that long ago where people were lined up looking for food, and even here, in America before all that. But anyway, what an incredible opportunity that you have to be able to pull from those moments. Why for you then? I mean, obviously you came here, talk about that. You came here to America. You were part of Wall Street. Like, give us a little bit of that part of the story.
Well, it was definitely, coming from Ukraine. I was 15, just graduated high school. So I basically used it versus going to like, I think 9th or 10th grade. So I actually graduated. So I went to college with the community college with learning English as a second language. It was a different dynamic. I think the hardest was the mindset, right? It's a totally different mindset. It's just, I was, studying English from the first grade, and English wasn't as kind of hard. So I could understand and speak well there. But I think it's that excitement and again, like segue why my entrepreneurship and I'm not in Wall Street anymore. Maybe it was a little bit kind of pushed to me by like this whole, mirage of like, so cool, look at they all making money, watching Hollywood movies. But when you're there, it's different, right? So they kind of chasing the wrong goals. I would put it that way. And I would definitely tell our, listeners and viewers, just if you make sure the goals are your goals, right? It's not like somebody told you, or you've seen somebody in your great life, like make sure this is what you want, not like I said, your parents want you. So I think maybe that was a little bit of a mix. But looking back, I think I got so much experience, connection, networks, obviously money. So I can't tell if this is what the wrong choice, but it was just something different when I was in it,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And I think, especially now, I think I heard somewhere, it's okay to have 2 or 3 careers these days. It's not like back in the day, you just got a job, work for 50, 60 years and then retire. It's different these days. Yeah. You can't have 2 or 3 successful careers.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot of wisdom in that. It's interesting. You spoke on the word freedom a little bit ago. Was that a huge push for you? Because what had been told, you were just saying someone else kind of told you what success looked like, Wall Street, money, maybe flashy things, number of cars, stuff like that. And that wasn't necessarily what resonated with you, but freedom does. Is that what I'm understanding?
Oh yeah. It was, I remember telling how like loud and clear I was again, going back to we were at the least retirement then, they were doing a lot of these exercises and it's like, I think one of them, you want to talk about like visualize what you have in now and basically visualizing it's going to get worse and worse and worse. It's like 20, 30, 40 years out. And you're like, oh my God, no, it has to stop. And like, until now, I had this freedom. I'm not free for what I wanted to do. I'm not free from basically controlling success the way my career goes. And I think that was a huge, and until up to now, like that's awesome. Even sometimes like, I signed up for it. I get to do this. I get to set my the schedule. I think freedom could be, some people don't like freedom. Freedom is responsibility. You're responsible for your own success. And I think that's
Right.
a lot of the people like, you know what, I'll just go do my thing, 9 to 5, and I feel free because I don't have to take responsibility. So I think for me, that was a huge, and I think me is by nature, I'm, more, I would say, kind of person that likes to get things done faster, quicker, not my bikes. And obviously freedom, it's the key. I can't just wait for somebody to tell me either what to do or rely on somebody to do things. So.
Yeah. I heard on a podcast not that long ago, maybe a couple of weeks ago, that this idea that, a lot of entrepreneurs say we want freedom, and we do, but you and I are similar, where what we actually wanted is what we didn't have, which was control. And so we were being controlled. And so it feels like we want freedom away from that. But really, all we really want is to be able to control the circumstance or to control our environment or our result. And so I think that the language of freedom makes sense because we feel in bondage, right? Because we're being told you got to work 9 to 5 or whatever that mindset is of that keeps us feeling unfree. But then we feel free when we have this autonomy to be able to go do our own thing, which is really control. We'll be able to control the environment, because you made the point just a couple minutes ago. You said you can have freedom, but a lot of people don't like the responsibility that comes with it. And so you can have freedom. Okay, I can quit my job. I'm no longer under somebody else. But then if I don't wake up tomorrow and go do something, even on my own, guess what? No money comes in. Eventually that well runs dry. And so your success, you're up to you.
On that point, I know, like I've noticed kind of on social media, people want to quit their job, and they need to stay the next day to put these like margarita, they lay on the beach. And I'm like, come on, that's not freedom. That's a wrong way of thinking about freedom.
Yeah.
Versus, no, you're free to do what you want to do. You're just like almost like your wings. You can open your wings and fly. Yep. And like unleash your full potential 100% versus, I guess just, as we start talking about control, and I think the other thing that was kind of pushing me out of the corporate ladder is like, I remember the jobs that I wanted or the roles, kind of a little sexy, this and that, like applying to them, kind of networking, making my end, talking to managing directors, but like not getting them. I was like, damn, sense of not being in control.
Right.
Basically navigated my royal career. And I think that was also partially like, you know what? I don't have to do that. Like, I'm going to get to decide my own chance, lead my own path versus like trying to chase around and like talk to these top people so they can take me on their way.
Yeah.
So, and I think that the more you get into this, if you look at successful people on Wall Street, like they have all the big mortgages, huge cars, all the liabilities. So it's like almost like this jail, the more you're in it, the harder to get out. There's no option to work out. So and I was figured, okay, this is the perfect time. And again, we can probably talk about like how COVID and pandemic actually expedited this whole thing of like, this is the best thing ever happened to me. I know, pandemic and all the bad stuff aside, but I think, I'm the part of the great resignation, if you will, right?
Yeah.
So
100%. I love it. Let's dive into that. I want to know, especially since you've built a successful business within the last couple of years, like really quickly, like you said, since COVID, what was a good decision that you've made in the last couple of years where you're like, okay, this one thing that I did, it's led to, a good portion of what I've been able to accomplish?
I think it'll go a couple of years. Well, it's now like almost a decade back. I don't know if our listeners right? So those are the first that were kind of scary. That was kind of my first, I graduated college. I really getting a job with 2008 where like Lehman fell, like marketing was like, everything was going. Real estate was, going. And then my parents back in Ukraine, I kind of talked to my dad, we got into real estate back then in development. I think that was a huge, because he owned at the time, like a candy factory. So it was a huge change for him going from that into real estate. I think that was a huge, like going into real estate back, I think that's looking back for me. And that's kind of what they, use as a passive income, using retirement.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest, obviously, getting not being afraid. Just, I know it sounds cliche. Yeah, just, take action, but honestly, right. Just,
Yeah.
do it. I think that was for me, convincing my dad get into real estate game when he was a little bit older and me kind of, filing the money from a year to do the development and all that stuff, even though 08 or 09, it was scary times. But I think
Right.
like looking back now, it's like the best decision I made that's escalated my real estate journey.
What you just said, choosing to press in when everybody else was terrified, is what I was going to say that I was hearing you say. So I'm glad we align on that, because that's all I could hear you saying was, oh my gosh, the world was falling apart. Wall Street was falling apart. Real estate was falling apart. You know how many times I've had people on this show? I have literally had, I don't know, 15 plus guests that have said, you know what? I was doing really, really well in 07. And then I was not doing really, really well in 08. And so, of course, those people have rebuilt themselves. But for you in that moment, you're watching all this and you're going, Dad, we need to buy the stuff that everybody's running from. That is insane. What gave you that? What gave you that insight? What gave you that gumption, the fortitude, the risk? Like, how did you get there?
I think it just, again, this, studying and listening to all the podcasts, reading the books, and they made the wire a lot for real estate because it's tangible, right? And if you look back for even centuries, the biggest wealth generating vehicle, it's real estate and businesses for financial assets.
Right.
Like, building's going to be here 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now, right? And then the value is just what people or market is willing to pay for it. So look at that, and back then, everything was in the dollar terms so cheap, right? Like in Ukraine.
Right.
So from that perspective, almost like now the buildings are 200,000, but back in the day, it cost like 30 to 40 to build. It was like, even from that perspective, you're going to lose that money. Like, it's not the end of the world. So I think understanding risk words,
right?
How much you can. I think the Warren Buffett likes to say that the exponential, like, you basically mitigate your risk, but the rewards are like so out of this world. So like,
right.
So I think that was, plus again, I mean, it's in my home country. It's going to be there when I get there, or it's just not going anywhere. It's not like a stock market. You can go tomorrow and Apple's down 20%. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
So those things were in favor.
Well, so I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the same topic, but now. So now we're 2022, short-term rentals, Airbnb, VRBO, hospitality, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of people that have gotten into this industry, a lot of people that have heard about it, but have not, a lot of people that have been using it. As a consumer, I'm not going to not use a short-term rental whenever I travel. Like, that is how I will always travel forever and ever going forward, period. Knowing that you're in the space, knowing what we just talked about in 2008, knowing that we're probably, on a downturn here with real estate, short-term rentals just in general. What are your thoughts on the next 12 to 18 months?
Well, that's a $1 million question. I always like to say, like, you have to figure out what your goals are, right? Like, what are your goals? Like, what are you trying to achieve buying that specific property, right? That's number one. And if the numbers make sense, numbers more or less conservative,
yeah,
and all the regulatory, I think that's the huge one. People jump in not knowing the regulations are either coming or there are regulations that allow you to do that.
Right.
So those are kind of the three there. Having your goals. What are your goals? Is it like cash flow, appreciation, like where you just want to chase after everybody's going to Airbnb? Let me go into it, but then you're not really committed to it. It's not really your goal. You just follow somebody else's goals.
Right.
Make sure the numbers, and then you have some reserves and running analysis. If, for example, if for whatever reason you can't do it as a short-term rental, if it makes sense long-term, even if it breaks even, that's fine, right? You kind of cover bases of that.
Yeah.
Any markets, and you can look back to 08 and 2012, like people that made money, like they made money in recession, great recession. So I think it all has to deal with, again, knowing your goals, why you're doing this, and making sure the numbers work. Just looking at that specific property, kind of cut all the noise and just focusing on that specific, and like, again, how it can be, because again, this is it's not a real estate business, it's a hospitality business. You provide you're providing services for people that are state. So it's all about experiences, how you can make it better, better design, better service, guest communication, all those things.
Hey, Chaz Wolfe here. As many of you know, I have been on an absolute mission to help entrepreneurs from all across the country in many different industries level up their game and grow their business and intentionally connect with other entrepreneurs. We do that obviously through the podcast, but we also have a peer-to-peer mastermind group specifically for 7 to 9 figure business owners. We are bringing some of the best and most successful entrepreneurs and minds together in a regular and a super intentional way to not only grow our network, but to be able to leverage. And at a certain point in business, success becomes about leverage, leveraging time, leveraging resources, leveraging key relationships. This is exactly what we're doing inside of the peer-to-peer mastermind group called Gathering the Kings, specifically for 7 to 9 figure business owners. So if that's you, if you're ready to level up your 7 to 9 figure business even to the next level and get around other big hitters just like you, I want you to go to gatheringthekings.com, fill out a short application, and it'll come to an application call with me, and I want to chat with you to see if it might be a good fit. Talk soon. Yeah, love it. Okay. Tell us about a bad decision that you've made last couple of years that you wish you could do over, but instead you learn from it.
I've been going a few years back, maybe hang out with the wrong people. I think that's huge, especially. And again, that's gets you when you don't have like the true north, you don't know where you're going, you have your goals set up, you can get, sidetracked with the wrong crowd, doing like stuff that you're not supposed to do. But then hopefully again in big trouble. But I always like to look at it as a learning experience. I think that's kind of to our, audience. Yeah, just make sure that the people you hang out with are, again, I'm a big believer that you're the average of 5 people you hang out with. So, now I know that if you want to be a millionaire and you're looking at your friends, they like working at, not the job that can you get there, like it's something, you got to change your environment. So huge on picking your right environment and make sure you're dedicating your time to the people who are going to, lift you up and cheer you up and be your biggest fans versus just, being kind of dragging you down. So I know it's more like not as precise and innocent, but I always like when I make that decision and they cut and quick, like, learn a lesson and move on and don't like live in that or that decision and learn from it. So I kind of look at it as a learning experience, not so much as a bad decision, but kind of looking back, I'll probably got a few years of know what to do and be obviously more successful than I would hang out with the right people.
Yeah, exactly. I understand that completely. What would you say, like you said, like I tried to put myself in good scenarios, good people. Tell us about a time when you didn't, but that you said you acknowledged that, okay, this is not a good scenario and you try to cut it quick. Do you have a moment like that? Because that's probably where the listener is. They've probably got a person or two, maybe 3 around them that are like really pouring into them, encouraging them, challenging them, having them reach that potential that we talked about. But most likely they're surrounded by a bunch of people that are average, for lack of better terms, and they're not necessarily reaching for their potential. So therefore they're looking at the listener going, what are you doing? It seems like you're doing a bunch of things that, that are crazy. What would you say?
I think, for example, as the more success you get, the more like you start getting people reaching out to you, like, hey, let's do this deal. And I think that's the biggest of like, why not? Right? Like going back to my initial, like, oh, you can do it. And I think saying no, it's huge. And I think the more successful you get, you need to be saying no more than yes. You think that don't serve your purpose and don't kind of align with your goals. Like these didn't just to basically make it into a debacle or, could be a learning experience. But I think that's the big one. And that's, again, goes back to if you don't know your goals and you don't value your time, you get sidetracked to the people that are basically, hey, let's do this deal. Or can you, lend me money? I think that's another one. That was, here and 5,000 here and 10,000 there. But then at the end, it becomes people owe you money. And I think that's another one. I think energetically, I'm a big believer that, energy is everything and money has their own energy. And as you start thinking about, oh, these people owe money and every day, and they always have a story like, why can't they give it back to you? So It's just, okay, just cut it all. Okay, this is, I'm gifting you the money, but I need to move on and not kind of thinking about it. Like, you have the clear mind of your goals moving forward. And I get sidetracked all these little, investment that looks like might be another, Bitcoin, but it's not.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of shiny objects out there. I think that we could do a whole podcast just on all the shiny objects that we shouldn't be paying attention to. But at the same time too, like you said, that's how initially you say yes to a bunch of stuff. And that's how you kind of figure out where your lane is. And then of course, as you become more successful over the course of time, you got to be stronger and stronger on that no.
I like the saying, right? And again, yes, pick the lane, pick the lane, get your lane, stay in it, right? Like master one and then pick another one. Like, you just want to be clear, focus on one thing, be good at it. And then, perfect example, athletes, right? I don't think there's like a soccer player and a basketball player at the same time. No, they do one thing. Well, a tennis player, that's all they do. You just play tennis. They can't play basketball, soccer does just, for fun, but exactly what they get at is just one sport. So I think it's the same thing with business and investments. Like, yeah, as you grow, you can get stuff. I think you definitely want to focus on something like master it. I think there's a good book called you got to give it like 10,000 hours to be good at it.
Sure.
So it just talks all about mastering your craft.
Yeah. Love that. What decision-making process or maybe discipline do you have now that you've been through a bunch of success?
Oh, I think you got to first listen to your gut. And as the more you start hearing that little bit of voice, like it gives you something you'll hear more and more and more and more of it. Like, I think you have to listen to yourself. I know it kind of sounds a little bit woo, but kind of like the gut feel. And almost I like to say, listen and then, okay, does it make sense? And it makes sense. Don't dwell. I think to make mistakes, make decisions quickly, and just, go with it.
Yeah.
But have it on a big fan of meditation, visualization. Like, you want to kind of, again, goes back to your goals, where you want it to be. And then how you're going to get there, just more kind of let it go. And it's going to come to you. So going back to that, making decisions.
Yep.
Kind of perfect example, I ended up with your podcast. It just kind of happened.
Yeah.
You just have to be open. And these things just kind of start coming in. People start, walking around you. But as long as you have that open mind and being open to say, yeah, of course, why not? So I know I answered your question, but
no, it's good. What I think you've given and a bigger picture for the listener, hopefully they've been paying attention, is you've given this really healthy perspective or balance on why not just go for it versus what are your goals? Does this action line up with my goals? Does it help me actually get it? If it doesn't, then I'm going to say no. And these are counteracting each other. Like, I can't just go and say why not and yes to everything. But generally speaking, I want to be open-minded and say why not and say yes to things like being on a podcast or a new business opportunity or whatever it might be. But as we continue to dial in and become more successful, to your point that you've made several times here, it just becomes more like your lane becomes clearer and clearer and clearer. Your story, your purpose, why you're doing these things, the goals, especially if you're writing them down, especially if you're putting them in front of you, meditating, reading, praying on them every single day or every single week or on a regular basis, then I think what it gives that person is just the confidence as these other things are happening more and more, opportunities, podcast, whatever, to say, yeah, that works for me or it doesn't. If this show didn't serve your greater purpose, you probably would have said, hey, that's nice, but no thanks.
Again, I'm a big, you could probably tell huge quotes. And this guy, Dwayne Dyer, he talks about you want to be open to everything and attached to nothing.
There you go.
So it just so perfectly aligns, going back, like, yeah, I'm in hospitality. Of course, there's other things like you can be making money. Yeah, I know people that do that, but it doesn't mean I need to go and jump and do that. Like, it's just kind of open to that. It's there, acknowledging that it's there, like stay lane.
Yeah. I'll give just a quick example here. I don't normally do this for the listener, but talk about my story specifically or things that are going on in my world. But this parlays just perfectly. I have an opportunity, or had an opportunity in the last 30 days to acquire another Edible Arrangements franchise. I still own several of them. It is not at this moment, though, something that I'm growing. I own several of them. I went to 7 locations, 3 states, with 60 plus employees. That was all in my 20s. I still own several of them, but I'm not growing that portion of my portfolio. And so I had this opportunity pop up, and it would have been, pennies on the dollar, like basically acquire it for absolutely nothing, maybe 20 or 30,000. Like, just, they're going to close it. They're going to close it. I just swoop in, keep it open. And that probably would have turned, I don't know, $40,000, $50,000 a year for me, knowing that I already know the systems. I already have people somewhat close by. We could create a team that could roll up into my current team. It wouldn't have been that big of a deal, really. And that's why I kind of pondered it back and forth. But I was reminded by a friend of, I hear you, that this could probably be a fairly easy roll up. But you've told me multiple times that you're not growing that portion of your portfolio any longer. So, like, why are you doing this? Or why would you consider doing this? I know it's $40,000, $50,000 a year, but that's really not that much money, potentially to the headache, or potentially you going in the wrong direction. And so obviously, as I'm mulling this over, going, yeah, you're right. Even though it seems simple and easy and I could just roll it up, it would hardly cost me any money. The potential of it distracting me long term for what I've already determined my goals are, it wouldn't be worth it. So I think it plays right into what we're talking about here for the listener, because whether you've got an opportunity like that or whether just a shiny object, hey, there's other people who are making money or whatever, I think that the more confident that we can become about where we're headed, and that comes from setting goals and repeating them to ourselves and just really honing in on what it is that I want, and then making decisions based out of what I want and what I want only. And if it doesn't align up, it's okay. It can still be a good opportunity for somebody else, right? Do you have anything that you would add there?
And imagine like how much more power you get by saying no to those opportunities when you're like, oh my God, I want to do this, because it just, again, it sounded easy to you. It's like our brain, like we know what to do, and we tend to do that because it just almost becomes an autopilot. Versus here, you need to be staying conscious, like, no, this is not where I'm going. I'm staying here. Having like your friends, like, perfect example, having 5 people around you, they're like guiding you, like, hey, dude, what are you doing? This is not what this is not your goals.
Right.
Most of it.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's a perfect example of what we've all been talking about. So it's perfect. I want to switch over to our speed round questions. First question in the speed round is this hospitality business that you've described. I want you to dwindle it down into one trackable metric. So if you can only pick one metric to track forever and ever, what would it be?
I would say guest reviews, because that's the primarily, that's what people come to us. Like, especially, some people, some families can only afford 1 vacation a year. So if you think about the old hard money, they like, this is it. And we would just make sure that they get what they, even more that they expected from. So I think that's number one in our business. And I think, again, going back to clients, hey, these are reviews we have, look at how we're treating our guests. And like, I think that's number one, at least for me. And I think for the industry itself, it's all about guest reviews and satisfaction.
Yeah, because you're right. From an angle of, we can apply reviews to lots of different industries. Obviously, hospitality is huge. Not only does it help you with that returning, like that next possible guest who's going to stay at that property because they're going to look at reviews, but then for you to go get another sale or another property, another owner, they're going to look at your performance, and your performance, obviously, as a management company or a hospitality management company, is going to be, determined on those reviews.
And I think, again, I think this is, again, could be other industries, but I think that's one of the industries that all the stakeholders' interests are aligned, right? If you think about a guest, owner, community, like everybody, right? The better, best experience, the property needs to be nice. So the property, the more well kept, the happier the owner, he makes more money. The happier, the better, nice building, the area in the real estate neighborhood is better, the value goes up. Everything is lined up perfectly, right? So it's almost like a perfect correlation, and everybody's happy equals making money equals the good for the community. So I think that's kind of the best metrics you can track. And obviously, hopefully the employees are happy because, the owners are happy, the guests are happy, and everything else just falls into place.
Yeah, 100%. Love it. What book would you recommend that a six-figure business owner read, Roman?
The one that made a huge impact recently, I think, especially as you grow, and it's Who Not How by Dan Sullivan.
Yeah,
It was a huge as far as why am I doing this? Should I be doing this? Or I can delegate. I'd say it's huge, especially as you scale and grow.
right.
Like there's, especially when you start out, you do everything yourself. I'm like a CFO, a CEO, right? But as you grow, you need to be delegating. And there's so much itching. No, I can do this. I can save a couple of dollars here, but no. Figure out how much you're worth, per hour, and
right.
Delegate. So I think and all kind of sneak in. Before that, I was a huge fan of cash flow quadrant by Kios. Everybody talks about bridge for that. That's a huge. You want to figure out where you want to be. You want to be on that, E or S, I or B. So those, but not how. Definitely the last 2 years was a huge kind of change the way I think and the way I operate.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that not only do I agree with you, but the who, not how applies to so many different scenarios. Right now, you and I are a who for each other. It's incredible when you can really grasp this mindset of what a who is. Obviously, that we're providing value to each other in completely different ways here right now, even as we're providing value for others. We together are a who for someone listening, which is really powerful when you think about that. It's not just about delegation, but it's about relationships and key, particular, specific, intentional moments and people that can add value to the goal. You were going to add something there?
Yeah, for goals, to take one thing, and I'm still guilty of that. And as people I want to have goals, how I'm going to get there, right? Immediately, how I'm going to make more money, how versus who can help me get there, versus to take off that how. You don't need to know how. There's going to be people help you. So I think segue to your point, we're who for and me, I don't know how it's going to happen, but it just happened. So maybe don't dwell on how, but just be open and obviously networking, because you never know who's going to be that person that gets you to your goals.
100%. Yeah, I'll give a quick example here. I've got a guy in our mastermind group that is pretty new to business, probably 3, maybe 4 years in, probably going to do 10 or so million this year. And the reality of it is that there's a huge section of his business that he has no clue personally how to do it. And he hired a person who knew this thing, and they said, hey, why don't we offer this service? And he's like, okay, let's go. And then they started hiring more and more people around this one particular person who could lead them. And he has this whole section of his business doing millions and millions of dollars that he personally has no clue how to do. And it's the exact format you're just talking about. It's not how am I going to get there? It's who do I need to connect with or know or hire or partner with, or it's just who. It's just who. I think even just the connections. I think right before maybe we turned on the recording, you were asking me about how we met, or I can't remember exactly how we got connected, but it's things like this where you're like, I don't know where this is going to go. This is this incredible opportunity for like minds to come together and amazing things to happen out of it. Who knows what?
That's perfect. And I think ability to let go. I think that's what a lot of young entrepreneurs are struggling, letting go and have other people do what they're not good at. Again, going back to your point, they don't even know how to do the business, but he owns it, right? So the perfect example goes to Richard Branson, and obviously he owns 400 plus different companies. Obviously he's not running, right? He has people that do it for him. So I think that's annoying. It's more on a level, but it's the same mentality of you gotta let go and don't think about how, but you get those people in your team.
Exactly. Okay. Last question here for you, Roman. Actually, no. 2 more questions. I got a small question for you. We're talking about the same thing right here, though, so I don't want to beat the dead horse here. But what are your thoughts on networking or masterminding specifically with other entrepreneurs?
Oh, that's a must.
Okay, and why?
Again, going back to the 5 people, average 5 people you surround yourself well, and I'm a huge believer. You don't have to create a wheel. If there's something you want to do, just go meet those people, talk to them, and just basically follow them and have them shadow you, that would be the best way, right? If again, if you're not in a competitive market, you can do that. But it's like, that's how I got it. It's all about that. And again, because you start seeing, well, he make $1 million, why not me? Right. And you just become, see what they do, follow what they do, learn from them. So, I mean, I'm part of what, 2 masterminds. Because like, it's like, it's not even, it has to be, it's by default. Like, you can't just be a solo man and you think you know it all.
Yeah.
So I'm a big proponent of that.
Okay. Last question for you, Roman. If you lost it all, what would you do?
I would be in hospitality way much sooner and providing services to people. Then, then, like I said, I had found my niche. I love, taking care of people's, basically experiences. And when I get those acknowledgements or reviews, I just get a kick out of it. I feel like I'm kind of worthy and I'm doing something that's good for the community, not just making money, right? And the thing that's, when they leave reviews, mention my name, like, it just connects to that, that the close level that the people can connect when they feel gratitude and excitement and grateful. You can't get that other than that, so I think that's that human touch and service that would do it over again and faster.
Yeah. I love that idea that you would do it again and just faster. Cause obviously, like you said earlier, it's who you've surrounded yourself with, knowledge that you have, you'd obviously be able to do it faster. Roman, how can the listener find you? Whether they're in the Denver area and they want to find a place to stay, or they're just an entrepreneur, they want to connect with you and get to know you better. How can they find you?
Sure. So you can look me up. I'm on social, Roman Tomkiv. It's Tomkiv, and then my company is skyhousemanagement.com, and the house, it's spelled in German, Haus. So it's SKYHAUS management.com. And
Love it.
You can email me, romantomkiv@gmail.com.
That's great. Yeah. And we'll drop all that in the show notes for the listeners as well. Thank you for being here. You've been just a pillar really of strength. We'll know that you spent so much time, success outside of your business before you even started a business with the background that you have with your family. I love the story. Thank you for sharing. We wish you nothing but success, blessing on your business, on your family, all that good stuff. So thank you.
Thank you. I hope, your listeners will find some value in this conversation. Thank you.
I'm sure they will. Thank you for listening to Gathering the Kings today. I hope that you were able to pull out a few nuggets to go apply into your business right away. More importantly, though, I hope that you're realizing that it takes more to be successful than just being by yourself, doing it all on your own, carrying the weight all by yourself. What I have realized, not only in my own journey from multiple businesses and multiple different industries, and now interviewing over 200 or 300 other very successful 7, 8, and 9-figure business owners, is that it's tough to do it alone. And so Gathering the Kings exists to bring together successful entrepreneurs. In fact, we are putting together 1,000 kings, specifically who are grateful but not done. We're intentionally assembling kings who fight tooth and nail for their business, family, and communities. And here's what we believe, that in the pursuit of excellence in those areas, that it ignites within us the responsibility to govern power and forge a lasting legacy. So if that relates and resonates with you, and you know that you need people around you, sharp, qualified, other very successful business owners, I want you to go to gatheringthekings.com. I want you to take a look at what we're doing and see if it makes sense for you to be part of our pursuit to 1,000 kings. Talk soon.